on the flip side of that, Russ, you were talking about how, and this is a very touchy subject. I know you're very open to talking about
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
The
sure.
whole sexual abuse and the trauma that
Yeah,
you endured, and that happened at 2 a.m. when you're in Daruk Boys Home.
Daruk Boys Home. Yeah, around about 2 a.m. And I think that's, and when I look back, and I think that's played a big pivotal part in why I'm not a good sleeper.
Yeah,
I just think, I don't know. I've explored a lot of avenues. I've medicated the sleep, and even the medication was, I don't know what it is, but even the medication was, not working in the end. So, you know what? I made peace with it. I've made peace with it. When I get up at that time in the morning, it's just like, okay, I'll lay here, um, put on some nice, soothing music, and just ride with it until it goes away, until I do go back to sleep. And it's not as traumatic as it used to be. I don't have the flashbacks or anything like that because I've done a lot of work and I've done some therapy and I've done some I'm trying to think some holistic sort of stuff and
yeah.
some stuff that's like that. I haven't done ayahuasca, but I've done something similar to it, and it's played a pivotal part in clearing a lot of that up, and so I want to explore a lot more of that sort of stuff, the unconventional type of stuff, because I think there's answers in it. But yeah, at 2 o'clock in the morning, it's being sexually abused, and I carried that wound for a very, very long time. But in that wound was a mixture of things that weren't good for me, and a lot of it was resentment, hate, and anger, and unhealthy sort of stuff. So the wound was, yeah, filled up with all those sorts of things, void, wound, whatever you call it, or however you want to articulate it.
Yeah.
But and it was filled with that. But the healing come from me was unpacking that stuff, throwing it out because it was no good. What do they say? Resentment's like drinking a cup of poison and hoping the other person dies for it, or
Yeah.
resentment will rust the vessel it's contained in. And so I realized that unhealthy behavior, and what I've repacked that wound with was love and self-belief.
Yeah.
And that wound through love and self-belief and self-worth got to heal. So I'd like to think today I'm a healed person from all that sort of stuff. So, and when you're healed, things don't affect you.
What, Russ? So in the ABC documentary they did on you, at the first, as you said, you were pretty stubborn to the
And
jail, like the counselling they were doing in the jail at the time. And then I think when they cut to the next scene and you came back in, you were very open to change. What was it throughout that process that you thought kind of opened you up to be willing to let someone else come in and kind of help you to overcome a lot of those demons?
I think, being in enough pain, sometimes you're being in the pain become that unbearable that another way of life was the only way. And just being that, and that David Swartz that's in that in that documentary, Dr. David Swartz, who's the psychologist and he's a pretty special guy. And I had to trust someone, and that's always been extremely hard for me. In saying that, we went so far. We began, and I think it was the beginning of willing. I never got to talk about the sexual abuse there, but it was the beginning of being willing, and being like Mark Burris and I had a talk the other day, and he goes, "One of your greatest assets, Russell, is your curiosity." He goes, "You ask questions." He goes,
Yeah.
and you don't just ask questions; you ask the right questions. And I think curiosity is the ingredient of success. Asking why. Not haters don't ask. They don't ask questions why. Haters will point out why you're shit. Where um, successful people will ask questions why, how I can overcome being shit.
Yeah.
And eventually over a period of time, I just think that was the seed in there that planted. It didn't grow straight away. It kicked off many years later, but it was always that seed in there to change. And I got a lot of that time in that, in the special care unit. It was called at Long Bay. I got a lot, especially, I got, and it was beginning of that self-belief and self-worth stuff. I hit a lot of hurdles after it, and I still felt a lot of pain after it, but it was like this little dot of light in the most darkest tunnel you
Yeah.
could ever see. So, I could always see it there, and I go, you know what, that's the direction I'm heading. It's going to take me a long time to get there. I guess, it's like flying with fucking Mars.
Yeah.
You know, seeing Mars and what it is as a dot of light, and just knowing if I keep persisting, I'll get there eventually. I mightn't work on it every day, but I'll do a little bit here and there, and it pulls me closer to it.